She was never pregnant at all. Instead, the videos have emboldened conspiracy theorists, who are now calling it Meg piracy. This case raises several questions: whether the birth was real, whether a surrogate was involved, or whether Meghan was wearing a moon bump. The claim being pushed is that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle lied, and that Buckingham Palace supported them in doing so. Some even allege there was a complete cover-up surrounding the birth of Princess Lilibet Diana. Why would they use royal titles for their children if they reportedly have such strong issues with the institution itself? Right now, Piers Morgan is going all in. This time, the noise surrounding his claims is growing louder, with reports suggesting that insiders from the palace are backing parts of his narrative. What started as one voice raising questions has now evolved into a broader conversation, with reports emerging simultaneously across both the United States and the United Kingdom. At the center of it all is something unfolding quietly behind the doors of Buckingham Palace. Something very few are willing to discuss openly. This is not a loud, public situation. Instead, it is being described as controlled, careful, and deeply private. But here's the part raising the most eyebrows. The reported focus is not on Prince Harry. It is not directly focused on Meghan Markle either. Instead, attention is said to be aimed at Archie and Lilibet, their official records, their royal status, and their place in the line of succession. Then things take an even sharper turn. There are ongoing claims about paperwork issues, missing signatures, and questions surrounding documentation. There is even talk of a christening that reportedly has no formal church record attached to it. All Prince Harry and Meghan Markle need to do is prove that she gave birth to those children, some critics argue. If they don't, it's unfair to the children. It's also unfair to the royal family, because it puts them in a very difficult position. There are certain things the royal family can and cannot do by law, and Meghan and Harry know that. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have never provided evidence for these highly incendiary claims, despite having had multiple opportunities to address them publicly. They released 6 hours of self-indulgent content on Netflix, criticizing Britain and the press over allegations of racism. Critics argue that this crisis will not die down until what they call the irrefutable truth comes out. In royal tradition, details like these are usually recorded without fail. Naturally, this situation has sparked a wave of speculation and concern in certain circles. All of this is why, according to ongoing reports, Meghan Markle is said to be feeling intense pressure behind the scenes at their Montecito home. If even a fraction of these claims turn out to be significant, it could open the door to a much larger conversation than anyone expected. This is also where everything links back to Piers Morgan. For months, he has been repeating one question that many major outlets seem to avoid. It is simple, but it resonates strongly. If Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue to use their Sussex titles in business deals, partnerships, and branding, while also presenting themselves as separate from the royal institution, how can those two positions exist side by side? The situation is escalating quickly, and each new detail adds to the growing tension. Another layer is added to the story with each passing moment. Make sure to hit like and subscribe so you stay updated on what unfolds next. So what is really going on here? That is the question Piers Morgan keeps pushing, and he is not being subtle about it. He has been calling it out in the bluntest way possible, labeling the entire situation as outright hypocrisy on a massive scale. According to him, royal titles are not just formal labels, they are being used everywhere. He claims that everything Meghan Markle is doing in her pursuit of becoming a lifestyle billionaire contradicts the agreement she made with Prince Harry not to exploit their children for commercial gain. He further argues that Meghan Markle's actions have led to unnecessary speculation, with people questioning various aspects of the situation. In his view, much of the ongoing controversy and negativity stems directly from their decisions. Now, critics argue that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle want to give their children the titles of prince and princess, even though they do not live near the royal family and do not carry out any official duties. They point out that the couple resides in a mansion in Montecito, California, while continuing to use their royal titles in ways that generate significant income. According to this perspective, every public statement, major deal, and brand move places Duke and Duchess of Sussex front and center, not just as an identity, but as a marketable brand presented to the world. And it does not stop there. The focus is now shifting toward the next generation. The introduction of Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet adds another layer, bringing increased attention, greater visibility, and critics say, added commercial value tied to their names. Piers Morgan did not hold back, stating bluntly that the titles were being treated as cash, rather than simply status. That comment struck a nerve with many viewers. But here is why he is raising his voice even more now. This is no longer just about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle as individuals. The conversation has expanded, and it now centers on what these titles mean specifically for Archie and Lilibet. That is where things begin to feel much more serious, very quickly. Think back to the interview with Oprah Winfrey, because it plays a major role in all of this. Piers Morgan has repeatedly described it as one of the most damaging moments for the royal family's public image. During that interview, Meghan Markle stated that Archie had not been given a royal title, suggesting it was linked to concerns about his skin color. That claim sent shockwaves around the world at the time. Piers Morgan strongly pushed back against that narrative, arguing that the situation was being misrepresented. He pointed to long-standing royal rules, specifically the letters patent established during the reign of King George V, which set clear guidelines on who receives royal titles and when. According to that framework, the issue was not as simple as it was presented during the interview, whether regarding Archie or Lilibet, and it requires deeper context to fully understand. They argue that this issue needs to be addressed, claiming that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are not entitled to complete privacy in this matter. Some critics go as far as saying that public interest outweighs personal privacy when it comes to questions surrounding the line of succession. Though such statements are highly controversial, there were also reports that the couple invited members of the royal family to Princess Lilibet's christening, but many allegedly declined. Critics questioned whether senior royals would be willing to travel to California, given the strained relationship and the public criticism over the past few years. However, according to ongoing speculation, invitations may still have been extended. At the same time, some royal watchers have expressed frustration with Meghan Markle's social media presence, suggesting that the limited glimpses of the children in her posts feel almost teasing or deliberately selective. Some critics argue that it is unfair for a future king to have limited familiarity with these children, and they claim this adds another layer of concern. As a result, the debate has resurfaced with even greater intensity, especially as it ties back to how these titles are being used today and what they may represent going forward. Here is where established facts begin to cut through the noise and shift the angle of the story. Under long-standing royal rules, the great-grandchildren of a monarch do not automatically receive the titles of prince or princess. This is not targeted at any one individual. It applies across the board, without exception. In Archie's case, the rule had simply not applied at the time, which challenges how the situation was publicly presented. Piers Morgan has been particularly direct on this point, emphasizing that the guidelines were already in place long before Meghan Markle and Prince Harry raised concerns about the issue. Piers Morgan described the claim as a lie, arguing that it was presented to millions of viewers about an institution that traditionally does not respond in real time. Now, that same claim is being brought back into focus, as it is reportedly one of the reasons the palace is taking a closer look at everything connected to these titles, from the ground up. Once a narrative like that spreads globally, especially when it involves children and royal status, it places pressure on the institution to carefully verify every detail. That means documents, records, timelines, everything comes under review. According to ongoing reports, what is currently being examined is raising serious questions in certain circles, which is why the situation is gaining momentum again. This is where things begin to escalate further. Piers Morgan is no longer the only one raising concerns. Reports from the United States, including coverage from News Nation, are echoing what royal watchers have been discussing for weeks. The claim that Prince William may be considering major changes when it comes to royal titles, not just for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. In the ongoing debate, Piers Morgan has been particularly outspoken. He argued that no one set out to damage the couple's reputation, claiming instead that their own actions led to the backlash they faced in the United Kingdom. He also criticized what he described as hypocritical behavior, At the same time, he strongly rejected certain claims made publicly, calling them completely unfounded. According to Piers Morgan, the situation has grown into a wider scandal, not only due to what he sees as Meghan Markle's actions, but also because of what he describes as the delayed response and handling by sections of the mainstream media. These remarks have only intensified the broader conversation, with strong opinions continuing to emerge from multiple sides. The alleged surrogacy scandal involving Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has now entered mainstream media discussions, according to some reports. These claims suggest that the conversation could also extend to Archie and Lilibet, meaning all four names are being drawn into the broader debate. Sources indicate that this is not being framed as a distant possibility, but rather as something that could develop further depending on how events unfold. Piers Morgan has pointed to similar situations from the past to explain why he believes this matters, often comparing it to other royal figures who remained closely tied to the institution, while facing intense public scrutiny. In his view, this raises a broader question about how royal titles are used, what they truly represent, and where the line should be drawn when public image and royal responsibility collide. Piers Morgan has made his stance clear, arguing that the momentum behind Prince Harry and Meghan Markle may be slowing down as scrutiny around their decisions continues to grow. He argues that the gap between their public image and their current business deals is becoming increasingly noticeable. Piers Morgan points to changes in major partnerships, shifting media attention, and what he sees as a growing reliance on royal connections as a central part of their identity. According to him, that combination is what raises concern at the highest levels. From this perspective, the issue is not being framed as personal, but rather as structural. There are also ongoing discussions suggesting that any future decisions regarding royal titles would not single out just one couple, but instead be applied more broadly. Names such as Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have been mentioned in this wider conversation, signaling a possible shift toward a more consistent, across-the-board approach. Some commentators argue that, in doing so, institutions are simply taking steps to legally protect themselves moving forward. Some critics argue that there are still too many unknowns. They also point to claims that the doctor who allegedly delivered Lilibet left their practice 2 weeks after the birth, though such assertions remain unverified and widely debated. Commenting on the Netflix series, Piers Morgan dismissed it as lacking genuine revelations. In his view, it largely revisits previously known claims with a different spin. He also criticized the portrayal of Britain, arguing that it was depicted unfairly. Piers Morgan went further, alleging that Meghan Markle had been seeking a relationship in England after her previous marriage ended, claiming she was pursuing both wealth and fame and ultimately targeted Prince Harry. These claims, however, are strongly disputed and remain a matter of opinion rather than established fact. The central point Piers Morgan continues to emphasize is straightforward. If someone is not actively working within the royal institution, he argues that if someone is not actively working within the royal system, the need for an official title becomes harder to justify. Piers Morgan often points to examples like Zara Tindall, who has built a public life without holding a formal title, showing that there are alternative paths that do not rely on royal labels. The focus then shifts back to Archie and Lilibet. Growing up in California, away from official royal duties, their situation adds another layer to the debate about what these titles truly represent in a modern context. This is where the conversation continues to intensify, because it is no longer just about tradition. It is about how those traditions evolve. Now here is the detail that has captured significant attention. There are reports suggesting that Meghan Markle could challenge any move to remove the titles through legal action. That idea alone has sparked strong reactions, and Piers Morgan has openly questioned it. His response centers on one key point. The authority behind royal titles comes from the crown itself, which makes the legal. He argues that the legal path is far more complicated than it may appear at first glance. In his view, the entire situation ultimately comes down to control. Who defines the value of a title, and who has the authority to take it away? According to him, that question is now driving the conversation more intensely than ever. This is where the discussion takes a sharper turn, because Piers Morgan claims that the reaction coming out of Montecito is raising further questions. He He suggests that the idea legal pressure could directly influence royal decisions reflects a growing disconnect from how the system traditionally operates. In his framing, it highlights a broader tension between modern public perception and long-established royal authority, which continues to fuel debate around Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their use of royal titles. The system really works. That perception alone is adding another layer of tension to an already complicated situation. They decide, okay, well, we have to come out and show the baby in some way, but we're not going out into the street with the general public. They're not going to have anything to do with our child. So then they appear, and there's Meghan Markle in her white dress with Prince Harry, who is holding a completely still baby. Also, let's remember that Meghan Markle was hailed as healthy and active at 8 months pregnant, without having gained noticeable weight or showing much at all. Oh, that's the Birkenhead moment. Is that the photograph where Archie Mountbatten Windsor appears to dip between her legs? But now we get to the part that is really shaking royal watchers. Beyond the debates over titles and the public back and forth, there are reports of something much more serious happening quietly in the background. Senior advisors at Buckingham Palace are said to have launched what is being described as an internal verification review focused directly on Archie Mountbatten Windsor and Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor. This review is reportedly centered on key details: their births, official paperwork, and how everything aligns with their standing in relation to the crown. And Piers Morgan has been very clear about what that signals. In his view, the palace does not take steps like this unless there is a strong reason. The monarchy can handle public criticism, but uncertainty, especially around lineage and documentation, is something it takes extremely seriously. Questions tied to royal lineage are not minor issues. They connect directly to the foundation of how the entire system is structured. And according to ongoing reports, those questions have now reached a point where they can no longer simply be brushed aside. One detail receiving significant attention involves Archie Mountbatten Windsor's birth certificate. As a legal document connected to someone in the line of succession, it is expected to remain consistent and precise. However, reports claim that changes were made after it was first issued. Meghan Markle's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was reportedly adjusted, with her royal title appearing in its place. Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, without a first or last name listed. That specific change has become a major talking point because, in a system built on tradition and accuracy, even small edits can raise much bigger questions. Piers Morgan zeroes in on a detail that stands out immediately, and once you hear it, it's hard to ignore. As he puts it, it really does boggle the mind. For example, when Archie Mountbatten Windsor was first born, it was said that they didn't want him to have a title. He would be a private citizen. Bravo, he remarked. The idea was that he wouldn't be a working member of the royal family. He would live a normal life and eventually have a regular job. That, he suggested, sounded perfectly reasonable. But then, during the interview with Oprah Winfrey, a different claim emerged: that he had been denied a title and security because he is a mixed-race child. And then it was suggested, according to claims referenced in Lady C's book, that Meghan Markle appeared unusually large for her first pregnancy, and even for carrying just one child. Observers claimed that her size seemed inconsistent at different stages, raising further speculation. In royal systems, paperwork is handled with extreme precision, and changes like these are almost never casual. Every edit requires a formal request, approval, and a recorded explanation. That is how the system maintains its structure and credibility. But this is where things begin to look unclear. When questions were raised about the changes, the explanations did not align. Meghan Markle's team reportedly stated that the palace had requested the adjustment, while palace insiders claimed the request came from her side. These are two completely different versions. No consistent answer and no clear record explaining how or why the change happened. That inconsistency is what is making people take a closer look. Then there is the birth announcement itself. And this is where the pattern begins to shift even further. Traditionally, every royal birth follows a strict format: confirmation, medical verification from named doctors, and an official palace bulletin. It is a system designed to remove doubt entirely. But with Archie Mountbatten Windsor, that sequence did not unfold in the usual way. The public timeline caused confusion from the start. The announcement suggested that Meghan Markle had just gone into labor, yet reports indicated that Archie had already been born earlier. Hours passed without clear details, no confirmed hospital steps, no direct statements from medical professionals, and no independent verification made public at the time. And here is a key point that Piers Morgan continues to highlight. Unlike the announcements for Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, Archie's announcement did not include signatures from attending doctors. Those signatures are not merely ceremonial, they serve as official confirmation. Without them, it is natural for more questions to arise. Meghan Markle later gave birth to Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor. This is what's often referred to as plausible deniability. It allows them to say, "We never explicitly claimed that she was our daughter in that announcement." In that sense, it can be seen as a way of legally protecting themselves. There are simply too many unknowns. Then, of course, there is the claim that the doctor who allegedly delivered Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor closed her practice 2 weeks after the birth. That detail appears incomplete, yet it has drawn attention because it is considered significant. Some argue that this missing information is notable, suggesting that Meghan Markle may have chosen not to include certain specifics in official statements to avoid potential legal complications. Now the attention shifts to Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor, and this is where current discussions are said to be most focused. Her birth took place in California, and was announced entirely through Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's own team. There were no UK-based doctors involved, no royal medical staff, and no, there was no formal palace bulletin released in the traditional style. Even the symbolic elements were missing, no official notice displayed outside Buckingham Palace, and no structured rollout like past royal births. When all of these differences are considered together, it becomes clear why this situation is receiving so much attention right now. For most public figures, doing things differently would not raise any concerns. It would be entirely normal. However, for a child connected to the British line of succession, tradition carries significant weight. Stepping outside centuries-old protocol is not something the palace typically overlooks. That is exactly why these details are now being examined much more closely behind the scenes. And now we come to the part that is reportedly causing the strongest reaction in royal circles. When palace advisors reviewed records linked to Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor's christening in California, reports claimed they could not find an official entry, no registry listing, no confirmation tied to a bishop, and no, there was no acknowledgement connected to the Archbishop's office. That absence has become a major talking point because in royal tradition, a christening is far more than just a symbolic moment. Piers Morgan has been particularly firm on this point. He argues that a royal christening is not merely for appearances. It plays a formal role in connecting a royal child to the Church of England, which is historically tied to the crown itself. Without that documented connection, questions naturally begin to arise about how that relationship is formally recognized. All of this helps explain why the atmosphere behind the scenes is being described as very different from what people see publicly. The polished images and carefully presented updates tell one story. Prince Harry has written extensively, and both he and Meghan Markle have spoken in detail about her pregnancies with Archie Mountbatten Windsor, as well as the birth of Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor. And there was even a claim that Meghan Markle was so hungry before giving birth to Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor that they had to stop for food, reportedly tacos or something similar. However, this claim has been widely dismissed as unreliable. The point about Meghan Markle is often debated. While some critics find it easy to dislike her, others point out that, by her own standards, her journey represents a remarkable level of success. She came from relatively modest beginnings, was not considered a top-tier actress, and had limited financial security or clear prospects following her role in the TV series Suits. Yet, she went on to become an international figure with significant wealth and global recognition. From that perspective, her rise can be seen as a major personal achievement. However, according to ongoing commentary, there is a more complex situation unfolding beyond public view. Piers Morgan continues to emphasize one central idea: that the current public image, brand deals, media projects, and overall positioning relies heavily on the association with the royal institution. If that connection were to weaken even slightly, it could significantly shift how everything is perceived moving forward, as he puts it. He puts it in very direct terms. Without the Sussex titles leading every announcement and partnership, the narrative changes completely. Instead of a royal-linked identity, it becomes the story of two individuals who stepped away from the institution and then spent years publicly criticizing it. In his view, that shift does not strengthen the brand. It completely reframes it. And then there is Prince Harry. This is where Piers Morgan says something important is often overlooked. According to ongoing reports, Prince Harry genuinely believed that, no matter where he lived, even in California, his children's royal identity would remain firmly in place, permanent, untouchable, and beyond question. But now that belief is being seriously tested. There are claims that Prince Harry has tried reaching out to senior royals, making calls that have gone unanswered. The suggested reason is straightforward. When the palace shifts into constitutional matters, emotions and personal relationships take a back seat. The process continues regardless. Piers Morgan has also directed strong criticism toward King Charles III. In his view, there were multiple moments when firm decisions could have been made. After the interview with Oprah Winfrey, after major media releases, and after public statements and media releases, there were still moments where no decisive action followed. According to Piers Morgan, that hesitation allowed the situation to grow into something significantly larger than it might otherwise have been. Now, he suggests, attention is reportedly shifting toward Prince William. There has also been commentary around Meghan Markle's pregnancies being classified as higher risk due to maternal age, which in medical terms is sometimes referred to as advanced maternal age. Such cases are typically managed with additional care and monitoring. However, beyond that, various commentators have expressed differing and strongly subjective opinions about her public statements regarding her pregnancies and the births of her children, Archie Mountbatten-Windsor and Lilibet Mountbatten-Windsor. It is important to note that these interpretations remain disputed and are not universally accepted or independently verified. He suggests that Prince William will take a more structured approach. From that perspective, William understands what is at stake, not only in the present moment, but also for the future, particularly with Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis in line to carry things forward. So where does this situation go from here? According to those closely watching these developments, several possible paths are being discussed. One option is a quiet freeze. Titles technically remain, but are no longer actively used or formally recognized in any practical sense, gradually fading into the background. Another possibility is a quiet reclassification. No major announcement, no headlines, just a gradual administrative shift in which names are removed from certain official listings, placing Archie Mountbatten-Windsor and Lilibet Mountbatten-Windsor fully outside the working royal structure as private individuals. There is also a third option. The one Piers Morgan suggests is now being seriously considered, and the one that could significantly change everything moving forward. The final option being discussed is the most serious: formal removal. If the reported review cannot confirm that royal birth protocols and lineage standards were followed in a way the institution recognizes, then the Crown holds the authority to act. No spectacle, no public back and forth, just a direct decision made to protect the structure of the monarchy. That is the part carrying the most weight right now, because ultimately, the system is designed to preserve itself above all else. Piers Morgan has remained consistent on this point, but the issue is now, in his view, becoming more significant than ever. His argument is simple. The Crown endures regardless of the individuals involved. People come and go, but the institution remains. He also points to another factor that cannot be ignored. Over the past few years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have built a public image that leans heavily on their royal connection, the titles, the history, and the association. But at the end of the day, the authority behind all of that still rests with the monarchy itself. And if that authority shifts, everything built around it could shift just as quickly. According to this perspective, it would only take one formal decision from the top to completely reset how those titles are recognized moving forward. If that were to happen, the impact would be immediate and impossible to ignore. Now it comes down to a broader question that people are already debating. Should the palace address everything publicly, or handle it quietly behind closed doors without turning it into a global spectacle? Either way, The situation is still unfolding, and it does not appear to be slowing down anytime soon.